back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about pros and cons of moving from one city to the next. So specifically, I recently moved from Florida, South Florida, Miami, Florida, close to the Miami area, to Houston, Texas. So specifically, I'll be drawing from my experiences with that. But I think most of the things that I'll be talking about, you can kind of see the correlation between moving from one city to the next, especially in your 20s, because I was 23 when I decided to make that move. So I just want to talk about some of the pros along with some of the cons that I've experienced since moving from one city, which being Florida, to Houston, Texas. So basically the background story is that I was getting engaged. So it was 2023 around, it was around September time. So we got married in October. So it must have been around September. So my job back home was home health nursing. Just like what I'm doing here, I pivoted from the hospital. I think I did like 4 or 5 months at the hospital. And then I realized it wasn't for me. So then I started going into home health. So I went into home health and I was doing that for about, I want to say 5 to 6 months already at the time. And I had patients. So in Florida, it's one way in Florida, but it's a whole different way in Texas. So in Florida, they give you specific patients to yourself through the agency. So that specific patient is your patient until that patient is discharged from the agency. So I had like about maybe 4 to 5 patients that were my patients that I was seeing throughout the week. And when I had these 4 to 5 patients, the paycheck was pretty good. It was pretty decent, very sustainable. I was getting paid more than I was getting paid at the hospital doing home health, but I was just working a lot. I was constantly confined to staying in one area because in Florida with home health, you basically go to see the patient either multiple times a day, multiple times a week, or whatever the case is. So I'm constantly having to go out and see these patients. So because of that, that caused me a lot of my free time and a lot of my freedom, but it wasn't that big of a deal because I felt like I was making more money as a new nurse doing that versus being in the hospital. So I was cool with it. But then what ended up happening is within a few months, So what ended up happening is within a few months of me doing that, of me doing the patients and seeing the patients and all the whole nine, I started realizing that my patients were dwindling down. So patients were getting discharged from me, and the agency itself was saying that they didn't really have much more patients to give me at the time. So they were saying that they were waiting for patients to come around so that way they can give me some patients. They were giving me some admissions here and there, but it was just very limbo kind of. And so then I decided to apply for other agencies. So I was like, okay, if I supplement myself with multiple agencies, then I'll always have patients to go see. So I applied for other agencies, and now I'm not sure if it was because my experience wasn't that broad or I didn't have as much experience or whatever the case was, but for some reason, every single agency was telling me that they did not have patients available. And I was working for 3 agencies at the time. So they were just telling me they didn't have patients available. And as time kept going, I just kept losing more and more patients, and more patients started leaving the agency. So now I ended up having one. Now it's September, mind you. I started working at this company, I want to say in April or March or April, something like that. I think it was March actually. So I started working for them up in March, but now it's around August, September time, and I'm down to 1 patient. That's it. 1 patient can't pay nothing. It can't really pay your bills. It can't really take care of anything. 1 patient was not paying me enough money at all. Like my check had cut into 4 pieces and I was only getting 1 of the 4 pieces. I was getting a quarter of my check at this point in time. And I was still in my parents' house, but because I was a nurse, I had already acquired some bills. So I had a car note that I was starting to pay that I had gotten as soon as I graduated nursing school. First of all, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not smart at all. I had acquired some bills that I needed to pay. So now I was in the middle of a situation of feeling like, hey, I need to be able to work well so that way I can pay my bills. So I'm panicking. And this is the first time I've ever had to deal with, big girl bills, a big girl job, not paying me what I'm supposed to get paid, And obviously a lot of you guys would be like, okay, well, just go back to the hospital. The hospital's always there. Now, you will not understand the concept of hating working in the hospital unless you are a nurse and you've worked in the hospital yourself. To a person on the outside looking in, I was a person on the outside looking in before I became a nurse. So I know that it may look like, oh, just work in the hospital. Like, we all hate our jobs, or we all don't like our jobs. So, just work there for whatever time you need to work there and leave. I just can't put into words really how it feels to go to a job, especially a job like nursing, where you have to put your all into the job. And for me, I'm not the type of person, like, there's certain nurses that'll go out there and they'll hate their jobs, they'll hate their life, they'll hate what's going on, and they're definitely clocked out, but they're just here, like, they're clocked out mentally, but they're just here because, either they have to pay their bills, they're adults, they don't have another option, or they think they don't have another option. So they'll stay, and they'll be okay with the bare minimum. They'll be okay with, well, I'm here, but I'm not here, but I have to be here. So, I'm gonna just get it done. And things are slipping their mind, and different things are happening where it's not safe. Like, I'm not working at Target. I'm not working at Walmart. So if mentally I'm not 100% stable in there, I will not be able to give my 100% efforts to the job at hand. Now, if it was a job where I felt like I was not responsible for so much, I would be able to push through. That would be fine. I'd just be like, okay, I'll do the job for a little bit and then get over it, and then just leave, or whatever the case is, save up some money so that I can get out of it. But when it comes to nursing, in my mind, now you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, or like, if you're a nurse, let me know what you think. But in my mind, the nursing job is not one of those jobs. If I got, like, say, an accounting job, or if I got, like, say, a business job, and even in those jobs, you have to think a lot. But in those jobs, a mistake might cost people money. A mistake might cost people time, maybe. A mistake might make a boss upset. But with nursing, a mistake doesn't just cost money. It doesn't just cost people being upset. It doesn't just cost, like, minor things. A simple mistake in nursing can cost somebody their life. So it's like, if I'm not 100% capable of being there, like, I don't think it makes sense for me to be going into a job where I'm responsible for somebody's life and I'm crying prior to my shift. Mentally, I'm not there. Mentally, I'm checked out. Mentally, I'm not able to do this. Like, seriously, I can push forward, stop crying so I can get to the job and clock in. But then after the job, I'm crying too. And mid-job, while I'm on the job, I'm really stressed out. I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious at the fact that I know I have to come back here again tomorrow. Like, it went too deep. The extent of depression that I had towards the job went too deep. Like, I can't even compare something else that I've been that depressed about versus my job at the hospital. So that's why, just to really explain it to you guys, really, so that you guys can understand it. But then again, sometimes people still don't understand. But, like, I think if you're a nurse, you might understand, and maybe the way that I explained it just now might make more sense to regular people that aren't nurses. But if it doesn't, regardless if it does or if it doesn't, at the end of the day, I ain't working at the hospital. It's just not happening. I'm not working at the hospital. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back to the hospital. And I knew that what I was doing, I already had the experience in it at that point because I've been doing it for 6 months. And that's what I wanted to do anyway, which was home health. So I was like, okay, I'm already doing what I'm doing. I have the experience because I've gotten into the field. There's no need to go back to something I hate. I just need to find other options in the home health realm. So what I started thinking about was, hey, I need to move, because my first option of trying to look for other jobs and apply for other agencies and look for other patients elsewhere to find other means to make income, it wasn't working. So now I was at the place where I was like, okay, great. Now I need to find a way for my career, the one that I worked so long for, because I was already discouraged with the whole nursing aspect, because I was like, I was working at the hospital and I hated it. So it's like, maybe I hate nursing. Maybe I just wasted my time, and now I'm like in all this debt from my loans and I don't even like what I do. Like, I was just spiraling, guys. I was spiraling, seriously. I was like, okay, well, I need to find a way to make money in the outlet that I like. I need to find a way to make money in the home health realm. There has to be a way. It can't just be that I apply to these 3 agencies and this is the end. No, there has to be a way. So I go online and I start looking for jobs elsewhere, outside of Florida, because at this time it was post-pandemic and Florida's cost of living was just skyrocketing out the roof. It was crazy. So I decided to start looking for jobs online elsewhere that were outside of Florida, maybe work from home positions, home health positions that were away. And when I started searching that up, I noticed that home health was able to be a travel contract. I didn't know you could travel doing anything but working in the hospital. So for me, I had already clocked out of that travel mentality of thinking, oh, I'm going to be a travel nurse, because I figured if I wanted to be a travel nurse, the only way to do that is to work at the hospital. And it was then that I realized I don't have to be working at the hospital to be a travel nurse. I can be a travel home health nurse. So I was like, great, let me pick up a little travel contract. Now, mind you, it was very premature for me to pick up a travel contract, because you need at least 1 year of experience for you to pick up a travel contract doing anything, at least 1 year of experience. And I did not have a year of experience at the hospital, because I left at around 4 to 5 months, at the 5 month mark. And I didn't have enough experience in home health, because I'd only been doing it for 6 months. I hadn't even been a nurse for a year yet. So like, me getting into the home health thing is a whole nother story of how my auntie got me into the gate. But like, all these things require for you to have some sort of experience. I was a little nervous to apply, but I still did it anyway, because I'm a nurse now. Like, people need nurses, you know? So somebody's bound to take a chance on me. So while I tried to apply for some of the travel contracts, they weren't necessarily, well, they did respond. They responded quickly, actually. And I had this one that I really, really, really wanted that was in Texas. And I was like applying for it, giving out the documentation for it, speaking to the recruiter person for it, and all the different things for me to do an interview and all the things. So I started getting excited, because I was like, I can make all this money, and they're gonna pay for my housing and all these different things, and I'll be traveling, going different places. So in my mind, I'm telling my boyfriend at the time, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, because I can't make any money here. So I'm like ready to like dip, so I can like try to make some more money, especially with my degree, so that my degree doesn't feel like it's something that I wasted my time on, you know? I want to do something. I didn't want to leave him, but at the same time, I wanted for my career to make sense, and I wanted to make money. I didn't want to just be living in my mom's house not making any money, you know? So I'm telling him all these things. And so then, you know, I apply for the travel contract, and I don't get it. I apply for several other positions that are a little bit more like, you know, hourly, more fixed, more stable, whatever the case is. But I was really leaning more towards the travel contract, because I didn't have in my mind at the time that I was going to move. It wasn't like a plan that I already had. It was more like, I'm just chasing for some money right now. And so I was trying to find whatever way I could do that. So a travel contract is more temporary in my mind. So I'm like, okay, 13 weeks, I'm gonna spend 13 weeks in Houston, get some money, and then come back home. But then, because it was a whole lot of different variations, because I applied for the travel contract, but somebody else ended up getting the travel contract, but I was able to get a position where I was getting paid salary for a home health agency. I was gonna get paid salary, and it was gonna be $20,000 more than what I was getting paid in Florida. So I was like, okay, well, that's an obvious answer. I need to choose the $20,000 more one. But it was a salary paid position, which means I would have to live in the state in order to work there. It's not temporary. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go look for some places in Houston, so that way I can, you know, work my way and move over there. So that's how I ended up moving to Houston. Long story, very long. I told you guys almost all of it. Oh my gosh, I don't feel good. A lot of the pros and the cons. I don't feel good. I need to eat. Okay, so all the rambling out the way. So let's get into a few of the pros and cons. Start with the pros, so we'll like start light and then we'll work our way to the harder parts. So I would say one of the major pros that I've experienced in moving to a different city is independence. So learning to really like live in your independence and learning to really hone into your independence just because you have to. So having to move to a whole different state or to a whole different city that's far away from everything that you know, everything that you're familiar with, everything that you love, it can be very scary and very nerve-wracking. But at the end of the day, what it does give you is that sense of independence, because you don't really have somebody that's like 5 minutes away that you can just run off to and ask for help, or people really close to you that you can lean on. You're basically forced with the task of having to meet new people, learn new people, find out how they are, figure out how to make new friends, which is something I'm still working on now, but you're basically forced to do all those things. So it basically sharpens up your ability to be independent, your ability to be on your own and to really believe that you can take care of yourself on your own. Another pro that I would say would be cost of living. There's a lot of times where we're living in a state or we're living in a location and we think that that location is the best. That state becomes all we know because we've lived in that state for so long. And so the things that that state offers, we associate it with this is all that there is out there, Whereas there are other states where people are thriving so much better with different things because of the mere fact that they don't have to confine themselves to the things that you're basically confining yourself to in your state. So like something as simple as like cost of living was definitely a big pro, because in Florida cost of living was just going so high, whereas in Texas cost of living is still relatively normal, you know, just for lack of a better word. Cost of living is still normal, and then there's different areas in Texas where cost of living is good too. So that would be something that we would be missing out on if we were so focused on the fact that we've been living in Florida forever and we don't want to leave. Thirdly, I would have to say another pro would be the increase in your income based off of what career you're in. So for nursing specifically, I know up north, nurses just make more money. I know in DC, places like DC, Seattle, in California, nurses make very, very good amounts of money. Also New York. So just everywhere up north where your life is just a little bit tougher because it's so cold. California is not up north, but it's north of Florida, and California just pays more for nursing, period. Like, I mean, like $100-something an hour. It's a significant difference to where Florida is paying like new beginning nurses are like $23 an hour, and you may work your way up to maybe $40-50, but like they're not paying you 100 and something unless you're a traveler. So now let's talk about the cons. So if community is more of your thing, if you're like the type of person where you feel like you need your family, you need your friends around in order for you to move forward, I would beg you to ask yourself if you're that kind of person first. I think I skipped that step. I didn't ask myself, are you the type of person that you can thrive away from your family, or are you the type of person where you feel like you need your family in order for you to be able to thrive? I didn't ask myself that. I was still in the middle of the situation that I didn't take the time to question myself on whether or not I was the type of person that would thrive away from my community. In retrospect, looking back now, I feel like I'm not the type of person that thrives far away from my community. I feel like it's held me back a lot, being that I've just been so homesick for so long, and I've just been so just in need of my community, in need of the friends that I've had, because I'm an introvert, so it's hard for me to make friends. If you're an introvert too, think about that. It's hard for me to make friends only because like my brain takes over, and then I start thinking about the worst case scenario that could happen with the person in front of me. Because like when you meet somebody, they give you their representative, so they're giving you the person that you know, the person that they want you to believe that they are. But then sooner or later, they're gonna show you who they really are. So you wanna make sure that you are prepared for that. Or you're a type of person that doesn't bother you. Making new friends doesn't really bother you, so you'll just build a new community. You can obviously always do that. So just keep that in mind and ask yourself, am I the type of person that I'm going to suffer from being away from my community? Or am I the type of person where I will probably thrive? Because there are certain people, when they're far away from home, or they're far away from people that they know, like my husband. When he's far away from people that he knows and he's far away from home, he can focus more. He can hone in more because he doesn't have as much distractions. Whereas some people, they fuel off of other people or other people that they love in order to be able to push forward. That's where we differ. So ask yourself that, are you the type of person where you'll be a lot more focused if you don't have people around you constantly? Or are you the type of person where you'll be less focused if you don't have your family around like that? Another con would be not knowing the laws and the regulations and the rules of the place that you're moving to. So I would definitely say if you're considering moving somewhere, you want to make sure you try to at least give yourself a little crash course of the laws over there, of the rules over there in terms of driving, in terms of driver's licenses, in terms of rental, like if you're renting out, to know like the rental agreements and rental terms and stuff. If you're bringing over a business, bringing over an LLC or whatever the case is, knowing what the laws are around that. Just knowing different things so that you don't waste your time falling into different mistakes and stuff like that, because we definitely went through that. Not knowing different laws that were differing from the laws that are in Florida, thinking that things are the same, but they're really not, especially if it's a different state. Things are almost 100% never the same. Making sure you do your crash course and your due diligence and research to find out what's different about this place that I'm going to, and if I'm willing to accept the differences. So I gave you guys basically 3 pros and 2 cons of moving to a different state. Just a few things that I wish that I had stopped and probably thought about a little bit more before moving to the new state. The cons aren't end all be all, for sure. They're not, because if you do your due diligence and you do your research prior to moving over, you'll be able to skip over those mistakes and not have to deal with those cons. But at the end of the day, you do want to make sure you educate yourself about every aspect and every outlet when it comes to moving to another state, especially when it comes to nursing. So for my nurse girlies that are watching the video, this last part's for you. In terms of like nursing, the differences between state to state are very, very grand. So if you're thinking of moving from Florida specifically to Texas, the pay gap it's pretty significant. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty significant. Nurses do get paid more out here in Houston. Now, if you're a very experienced, seasoned nurse with a lot of connections in Florida, then you probably are good where you're at. You don't need to move. But in any event, there are other states that pay a lot more for the career choice that you chose to go into. So if you're choosing or if you're desiring to get paid more for what you're doing, then looking into moving to another state would not be like, you know, the worst thing in the world. And granted too, yeah, I do feel very homesick a lot of the times, but I don't go more than 3 months without going back home. And when I do go back home, the perks of moving away and going back home as a visitor is that you get treated like a princess. You get princess treatment every time you come home, from friends, family, everybody. Your friends are willing to drop, if they're your friends for real, keep that in mind. But if they're your friends for real, they're willing to drop everything to come and like see you, to come and spend some time with you, or to maybe it's an event that they may have not normally come to, but they're gonna come to it because now you're gonna be in town and you're gonna be there. So those things feel very, very good, and you're still able to see your friends and your family. There's FaceTime, there's, you know, red eyes, there's Spirit. We all know about Spirit. Spirit has been taking me home for the past, I want to say 6 months, because Spirit tickets, sometimes if you go check at the right time, I've gotten a Spirit ticket for $38 to go back home to Florida. So keep all those things in mind. Yes, it probably will be uncomfortable and it will hurt because it's very uncomfortable and it hurts me bad every single day. But the pros that I've acquired from it, just the peace of mind of having a lower cost of living and knowing that I'm getting paid better for what I'm doing and not feeling like I'm wasting my time. So I felt like I was wasting my time in Florida, and I felt like my money wasn't stable, just in the way that they do what I do, like my field. The way that they do what I do in Florida is just completely different from how they do it in Texas. And I just feel way more stable, confident in how they do it in Texas. Like, they don't even pay salary in Florida for home health. They pay per visit. But here, since I'm full-time, I get paid a salary. So it's a fixed rate for the year, and I can really only go above that. I can't go below it. So that's a definite pro. Like, that's 100% pro. So if you are looking into, my dog is mad about being on the balcony, but if you are looking into trying to, hold on, boy, wait. If you are looking into trying to move from state to state or move from one city to the next, or you're looking to try to expand in your nursing career and in your nursing field, or try to switch fields from hospital to home health, all these different things that I just discussed in this video, feel free, don't be shy. The dog is tripping right now. Feel free, don't be shy, reach out to me in the comments and let's have a discussion. I love to respond back to you guys' comments. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that way we can grow. It really, really helps us. If you know another nurse that this video could benefit, please make sure you share this video to that nurse, or even anybody who's just willing or thinking about or interested in moving from one state to the next. Make sure you send this video to them. It would be a big help. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Up until this point, if you're here at this point, we are like this. We are locked in, okay? We are locked in, because why are you all the way at the end of the video? You love me for real. So thank you so much. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye.